What's that, brother?
Yeah, welcome, brother.
Yeah.
Pleasure, real pleasure seeing you again.
Okay, brother.
Although our ancestors knew better to embalm or totally mummify high priests, they normally weren't, or not at all.
Yeah.
Has there been any remains, sure remains, or artifacts of Imhotep found anywhere?
I've never seen any. Like I said, it's very rare to see high priests. They got one down in Atlanta. It was one of the first ones I've heard of. They have the Necronomicon, which is the one that Crawley went in and invoked the Book of Law from. They got his stela, they got his even sarcophagus. This particular priest, but they don't have the body. They don't have the body, and I'm quite sure they have some priests. They have one that's been on display down in Atlanta from, I think, January up until August. January up until August, up until this month, next month. On loan from Germany or somewhere like that and all. I would not think so. I mean, I wouldn't think so. It was used to preserve for most of the pharaonic aspect and all. You know, the pharaoh is not necessarily the priest, it's honorary. You know what I'm saying? And that was done for a certain purpose. And basically the whole embalming thing is also to break incarnation, which is a very interesting thing you said. Let's say if you didn't want to get down here, and this is a known fact, even in India. Let's say if you didn't want to come back, then basically what happens is with your soul, when you die, your soul is still in your body. Your spirit leaves. There's a difference between a spirit and a soul. A soul is a whole other dimension that can just basically rest for eons, encased in shit, out there in the bushes or anything like that, until it's trapped in the physical body. It's a whole nother world. It's a whole nother realm. So what happens is when you die, your spirit leaves. Everything down here has a spirit. Not everything has a soul. Okay. A soul is a son. That's the difference between white people and us and animals and everything. Everything down here has a spirit. White people are spiritual because they have a spirit, but they don't have a soul. That's the difference. We just automatically think that a spirit and a soul is one and the same, or it all comes together. A soul is a son, a primordial son that existed long before the creation of this particular universe. There was prior worlds, and in order for you to have a soul, you have to exist beyond creation or part of the original star matter or whatever, that particular terrain. Now, the mummification was, it goes like this. If your body dies, your spirit leaves and all of that, and maybe your consciousness of the previous life, but your soul remains in the body until the body is totally decayed. Then it leaves. So the Hindus understood that, and which is also Typhonian Egyptians. So the Typhonian Egyptians, after which is your pre-dynastic Kamite, travel up into Mesopotamia, so-called Babylonia. These are new names and stuff, but basically Northeast Africa on into the Indus, Kush, the Indus Valley into India. They would take, they understood to release the soul. They would cremate the body immediately. You see, then the soul is released. Because they were dealing with trying to get a soul back down here for an incarnation, the way they would do it. The Egyptians, the Kamites did another thing. If you were worthy enough and you didn't want to come back or whatever, they would mummify the body. And when they mummified the body, because the body didn't rot, the soul would not have to leave, and the soul would stay suspended in its own other dimension. And so that was a way of fooling, so you don't come back in the incarnation and come back down here walking around here with a bull can in your hand somewhere on some corner, and used to be some pharaoh somewhere, and now you walk out there with some miniskirt on and stuff. You see what I'm saying? Just ignorant. So they understood that particular part as a form. Incarnation can also be a prison system, where it can take you thousands of years just to get back to incarnate where you got some sense. And in so many words, that's what's happened to our particular conscious people. So to answer your question, it would be highly unlikely. Now, the reason why I say this about the priests, on the other hand, they didn't need the mummification. They knew how to get to the other realms based on their whole spiritual apparatus, their whole spiritual training. You see what I'm saying? Plus also this, some of the higher beings knew, and this is the key, this is why you're here today, the higher beings knew that it was inevitable, that it was going to need to be back on the planet at a certain time. So it was like a time release type of spirit, whereas they would go back into incarnation. And they would bounce around for eons, always popping up as famous people or spiritual people throughout history, but nevertheless waiting for this particular day that we're in right now. So that particular ones would return. So in actuality, the most higher beings went through the whole process of incarnation because they understood there was a destiny.